Welcome. First part got interrupted, and we got some lettuce. I'm gonna take some lettuce from my anonymous friend and gonna rock and roll it. Always continuing for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the electricians, the plumbers. 2nd March of Tuesday, 9th. 9th of. It's the 9th, It is the 9th of June, going to the mountain. And part 1 was we made it to the fridge, and the second part we kind of clocked it back. So here we are, Thank you for the romaine lettuce, and got some gluten-free for my anonymous friend, and always for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, electricians, the plumbers, and the bakers, and all those, of course, involved in the production, distribution of food, the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, and of course all those who are now involved in the production, distribution of food. Gotta think about them, send them some LOVE, And I was just discussing how math is everywhere because, I'm on the spectrum of autism. I have HFA, high functioning autism, and ASD1, and of course the ASD1 is of course concomitant where we have now to be on the relationship of existence, and that existence is of course something which we have to compound, and gotta go of course on the left and on the right and in the middle. And sometimes we just gotta clock it in and begin our fitness journey and fully accept it and fully integrate my Aspiness, and awareness of it. And that's what in the first part I've discussed. So as I guess I'm doing the second part now, because it ended at the fridge, it began at the fridge, and I gotta salute, the ones who donated. There was so much. Well, there's actually romaine lettuce. The bread I didn't take. So the romaine lettuce, I left it for somebody else. I took some for me, some for my anonymous friend, and I got some in the backpack. I took her some, well, what I took for her actually was, mostly what I took for her was the gluten-free. Oh, some books there if you want. Oh, no, I have plenty of books. I actually have to give away some books, otherwise I don't have space. I'm going to overwhelm my library, So I have to wait because I have a small space, and I'm grateful for it because where I used to live, I didn't even have a bathtub. I took a bath today, 45-minute bath, which helped me a lot because I can't afford a massage therapy session. As I mentioned it, that if you're 18 plus, you got to be 18 plus for that play. Otherwise, I don't want to waste anybody's time. Don't waste mine. What for? I don't need. But if you're black or white or rainbow or man or woman, trans man, trans woman, whatever gender fluid, XYZ, etc. If you got to be 18 plus for that play, we can be friends with services, Trade services. She service me, I service you, and that's how I rock and roll. I don't want to waste people's time. Life is short. I died of COVID. Rebirthing with a new name, Adrian Hunter, dragon under the sun on earth, and laying the foundations for the dancing goddess dragon king, which is the fusion of Canada and the United States via mass public-private partnership with the steps. Every step, every kiss, every full moon, I get 1 trillion kisses added to my trillions of kisses already as the priestess of the goddess, androgynous pansexual Aspie artist, an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst, thinker, philosopher, and strategist who is on the spectrum of autism. I have Asperger's. It's a condition. It's a syndrome. It's not a disease, not an illness. As I march to the mountain, my second home, for the butchers, bakers, truckers, train conductors, the daycare workers who change some diapers, the electricians, the plumbers, and on my way I got beauties like these and the beautiful yellow that I love. But of course, it's always contingent, of course, for the administrative affairs. And those administrative affairs is something which have to be contingent on the side of the spectrum. But it's, of course, something which has to be characterized, of course, in the ingredients, of course, of where we traverse. We got to look at the traversation, of course, and got to watch it for the car there because there's a stop. So I always watch there at that corner there. So I make sure that people, of course, don't traverse in a way that is contingent for there to be damaged, because they can of course get hit and by the car, and of course they can get hit by the car in the contingency, and of course being that they can get hit by the car in the contingency is of course something which we have to get on the left and on the right and in the middle. So of course always in the left and in the right and in the middle. But there's a dangerous corner there. You can get hit by the car. See, you can get hit by the car. So there's of course something which you can get hit by the car, and you gotta of course be turning in the spectrum of the affairs, of course, to get it on the left and on the right and in the middle, and get careful when you cross the street. Always calculate the mathematics, eh? So the mathematical calculations are always integral, of course, to the administrative affairs where we correlate, and that's how my mind works. As you can see from the hundreds of videos that I'm different, and this difference, there's always mathematical calculations, right? So all those mathematical calculations are always, of course, calculable for the dynamics of existence, and that dynamical existence is with Asperger's and autism, that there's mathematics, and that type of mathematics is of course something which we correlate ourselves to be, and that correlation is of course always in the left and the right and in the middle, and of course that, for example, here, see the car, watch the car, careful. See how I calculated the angle, and my heart started beating kind of fast because I saw my citizen at concern. So I was a bit concerned, because I saw the angle and the trajectory. So of course the speed which a car can traverse, and the angle, because there were two cars there and the angle wasn't too good, of course, of the sun. So I was a bit alarmed, but I'm always prudent, extra careful in the public, because we got cars and us pedestrians, and there's always mathematics involved, eh? There's always mathematics, and there's always the speed and the dimension of the crossing of the street and how we interact with the pedestrian sidewalks, and then how we interact with the cars. There's a scientific mathematical relationship, right? The distance vis-a-vis the speed of the car, right? So because it's, for example, the car can go super fast, or the car can go slower, or the car can actually increase in velocity, right? If it increases in velocity, then of course that increase in velocity is, for example, here I have to back away a few steps, and actually if I traverse here, it's going to be safe at one point because it's the midpoint, right? So when when it's yellow there, it's usually yellow on the other side. So here, because I'm at the midpoint, there's a further distance from both sides where the traffic lights are. So there's a distance is bigger, thus I have more time to cross the street here than somewhere else. For example, if I go over there, it's less time for that car to reach that point. Amazing, eh? Right? Well, because the car is usually increasing in velocity until there, then if it's red, it has to slow down, right? So the segmentation, I discuss this often in my videos, eh? I discuss this often in my videos, but now I discussed it in a way that it's of course very nice because I apply it. So basically it's applied mathematics, right? So it's applied math. Right? And so as I discussed it in the past, there's the intersection of 2 points, right? So there's possibility for interaction and possibility of collision. And since I know the area and I know which one is more dangerous than other points, right? Because it's really math, it's really science. The velocity of the car, a moving object, its velocity has to include the speed and the direction, right? So there the cars were going north-south or south-north, right? There's only 2 directions in that segment. But the other segment that I said that's more dangerous, it had 4. It could go east, west, north, and south. So there's more points intersecting. And there's only a stop sign on one side, right? So if there would be stop signs on all sides, then it will be safer. The more stop signs there are, of course, the citizen driver has to do the proper stop. But nonetheless, I discuss this often. I actually could go on and on and on about these types of mathematics, but it's you see how apply them. For example, I see that there's a child coming on the bike. Usually I take that route, but now I'm not going to take that route because it's safer for me to take this route instead. Safer for me and for the child because I have the backpack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the science of safety and security, which I call the imperial safety and security protocols, right? And so, of course, that is the dynamic of the public sphere, right? So the dynamic of the public sphere. And so that dynamic, the dynamic of the public sphere is, of course, always me as an individual citizen and you as an individual driver and you as an individual citizen vis-a-vis each other. One for all for one. Because in the public, I had responsibilities, duties, and obligation. But sometimes it's my brain, because of Asperger's, calculates the math behind the intersection and whether I decide to cross the street or not to, right? So whether I decide to cross the street or not to is, of course, always contingent of these mathematical calculations of distances, ratios, and if I have to increase my speed, if I have to jog or run or speed it up, my marching steps, because I have a certain pace, right? So my pace is conducive, of course, to a certain direction, right? So my pace, of course, is kind of steady. Sometimes it can increase or decrease. Just give one example. But here they're supposed to slow down, but see, it didn't really slow down because there's a pedestrian crossing. Here it is. Actually, they can only come from that way because that's a one-way street, and this is a one-way street, right? So in theory, they can only come from the south, going north. Like that car is going north, and it's not that going that fast, but it might increase in velocity. Now this car, theoretically, cannot turn to its left. They have to turn right because that's also one way. Right, so here is a bit different. So every area, every segment of the pedestrian intersection with the cars is different, right? So it's applied on basically some mathematical logics, right? So the logic and the logistics behind it. So of course, all that relationship is what we have now in the relationship of the faculty of course, being involved is, of course, the relationship of existing. So that is, of course, where we intersect. And that intersection is, of course, always in the reality, of course, of the plural aspect of the distances. See, for example, here, this is one way. So in theory, they can turn only there, but it could possibly be that a car doesn't know and they come from that side. I've seen it happen. I mean, not often, but it happens, But it happens. It happens. So see, for example, here I don't have that much space. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna circumvent and my fellow citizen, I'm gonna go round about it, right? So I'm gonna go round about it. And of course, because I'm going to go around about it, is of course safer for me and him, her, citizen X, right? As I designate myself a citizen X in a relationship. So there's math everywhere, just like I was discussing in number one, that there's mathematics underneath, which we don't see. But there's, of course, lots of math. Lots of math. Watch the car here. Watch the car. Oh, I gotta watch. Oh, I was traversing. See the car there? And stop. I gotta be careful. For example, I thought that my anonymous friend was gonna jog in this direction and cross on the street there. I was a bit concerned for people's safety, my safety, their safety, because people are stressed driving. The gas prices have increased, and I'm sure there's a correlation by all these stresses added for the accidents that happen on the roads, That's why my awareness is also scientific mathematical, the distances, the calculations of the speed ratios, So, yeah. So along the way, I saved... the past 11 years, as I remember, I saved a few individuals from getting hit by cars. A few individuals, even my interventions that sometimes you can see on the camera. That, of course, I pick up the little shards that are here and there for the safety of the cars, right? Because they can have a flat. The last time it was really pointy object, and that pointy object, of course, could have caused flats, even if they're going fast and they were children. Just 2 weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago. And that's what we got. So we have to look out for each other in ways that we can. And I'm different. I have Asperger's. My autism has been hardcore in the past 12 years, Rock&Roll song is losing friends, losing jobs, losing friends, losing jobs, losing friends and losing jobs has been a constant, not just for me, but for people on the spectrum, generally people with high-functioning autism or Asperger's, because Asperger's is ASD1, right? So Asperger's is ASD1. This is a beauty. Sequence, it's called. Sequence. What a nice one. Sequence, eh? So nice. And beautiful. Give us 300. Red with black and white on red and rainbow dragons on it for the Dragon Army as a mass public-private partnership, North American integrated 911 protocols for toll SSSD, security service and surveillance and defenses. If you read my transcripts, you're going to know what reference I'm making. If not, you're going to discover in about an hour or so, because we're going to discuss my theories, protocols, and initiatives, and many of my ideas, my dream, because my dream is the most important thing. Look at those beautiful flowers there. My dream is basically a call for a public-private partnership. Public-private partnership across the North American Collective. Across the North American Collective, of course. So that is just our dream, because it's not just for me, it's for us, really. It's a mass public-private partnership, and of course I have to salute now again the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, trainers, electricians, teachers, and cooks, bus drivers, train conductors, train conductor. And I'm an androgynous pansexual artist, athlete, and independent geopolitical theoretical analyst, philosopher, theorist, and strategist. I develop geopolitical strategies fundamentally for the North American Collective. Not a beauty, say. Look at those beauties. So alive. Of course, that is where we are now. Financially stressed, but grateful, thankful. My rent's paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, paid Netflix, paid the internet, paid my hydroelectric bill, paid the internet. Now I got a few seconds. I'm not going to cross the street. I'm just going to continue here and then cross it over there in parallel. But yeah, I paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, paid Netflix, paid my internet, I gotta cross the street prudently here, Gotta cross the street prudently. But yeah, paid the internet, paid Netflix, paid my electricity bill, paid rent, important, Bills are paid. It is June 9th. Financially stressed, but took a bath, so when I go back in time, I don't have nostalgia. Not at all. My life has gotten way, way better over the past years, Survived COVID and survived being depressed, being suicidal, having a moldy place. And of course, that is just the relationships of what we have now with my life being joyous today, smiling, and always doing these mathematics, because math is everywhere. You can calculate velocity, speeds, ratio for safety on the terrain, and I could look at the cars and I do estimated mathematics, because there's math everywhere, right? If you look at all these cars, every one of these cars, most of the cars are not electric. Most cars run on electricity. Most cars are not electric. 95% of the cars run on gasoline, run on petrol, right? Gas. Less than 5 are electric or hybrid. So each and every one of these cars has a consumption rate. So I would kind of estimate, do the probabilities, mathematical probabilities, which are based on, of course, accurate math, which is based on mathematical principles of performing the equations, performing the calculations, which are correlated with the distance and the consumption. Well, I give you an example. For example, that car consumes XYZ amount of liters of gas per 100 kilometers. Liters of gas per 100 kilometers. So it could be, it could be 6.6, it could be 7, it could be 8, it could be 9, 10, 11, 13.3, higher or lower than 10. Usually around 10-ish, right? Some 8, 9, but usually around 10. But what is the average, I wonder? There must be a number. There is a number. Oh, this is a good mathematical question. See, for cars in both Canada and the United States, knowing what we know, of course, that 95% of cars run on gas, that less than 5 are electric. What is the average gas consumption per 100 kilometers? For example, that car might be 7. That car might be 6.6. This car might be 8. That car might be 9. That car might be 11. We would have to add them all up, and then all the consumption rates per 100 kilometers, 13.3, 6, 7, 8, add them all up and divide them by the number of cars in circulation. Then we would get the average. There's math everywhere. It's just that I see it. I always constantly do mathematics in my brain. There's always pluses, minus, additions, calculations, percentages, ratios on a constant basis. But that's how my brain operates. That's just how my brain operates. And sometimes I would be focused, or I seem that I'm not necessarily, I might stare at objects or intend to stare at objects, or not necessarily people, but because sometimes it's people, yeah, but without meaning ill will or intention. It's just a trait that I'm working on. It's a work in progress, Asperger's, but that can be one of the characteristics traits which can, I guess, it can trigger some people, some neurotypicals, without understanding, right? For example, if I look too much at my fellow worker because I'm maybe doing some math in relation to the work that's been done or whatever XYZ first, is because of how it is, right? It's just my brain is different, and Asperger's is not a disease, not an illness. It's a condition, and sometimes it's those little things which, of course, are. So those little things which, of course, are, of course, different for different Aspies. Different for different Aspies. Special interests vary. Of course, they can be very intense. So I certainly spend many hours every day doing geopolitics, and of course, spend many hours every day doing geopolitics and Rock&Roll. And of course, it is, of course, the dynamic of our special interests, which also can enable us to excel at our special interests, right? That's the positive side. And yes, in parentheses, I do have the dedie, the disability and the disorder in parentheses. I have it. But that dedie is superseded, cancelled out by the other parentheses of DSS. DSS standing for special skills, such as, not all Aspies or people on the spectrum, but generally, there's a tendency for Aspies to be above average in mathematics, above average in mathematics, above average in mathematical skills, and not all Aspies are good at computer science. I'm just beginning at computer science, right? I'm just beginning at computer science, but it is, of course, beginning in computer science, and I guess it's better late than never, but there is a disproportionate amount of people where we, of course, have the correlation where we got now to be related on, and of course that relationship is, of course, always contingent with, of course, the faculty of our thinking, and the faculties, the characteristics which can be strange, outright bizarre and weird to neurotypicals, right? It can be, there's often a misunderstanding. Well, this misunderstanding can arise, from different potentialities of the interactions, right? So the interactions can, of course, sometimes be more strange vis-a-vis our communication style. So, gotta recommend the books, Holy Trinity. Well, there's other books, but the ones that I'm going to recommend, first and foremost, Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome. The other book is called Asperger's Inside Out. It's a great book. Actually, I just got that 2 weeks ago, and I read it even today while taking a bath, meditated, and have to implement these strategies. And that's what I've been doing for the past more than 3 years now. 3 years since I've accepted it, because it took me years and years to accept it. And I also got to recommend the book, which is going to sound more like there's a paragraph. It sounds more like it's a paragraph. More like a paragraph. But it will give you a sense of where our problems lie. Our problems for many Aspies are mostly found. The title is Teaching Asperger's Students Social Skills Through Acting All Their World is a Stage. It's a long title. I know it's more like a paragraph, but that is the title. Teaching Asperger's Students social skills through acting. All their world is a stage. So social skills can be problematic. Understanding of social unwritten rules and dynamics to the point of, to our detriment, right? To our detriment. And of course, to our detriment is, of course, just can be detrimental for maintaining long-term friendships, and of course for maintaining long-term friendships, and of course for engaging to have long-term employment. Because those are the stressful points, long-term employment, and of course long-term employment can be problematic, and of course all that dynamic is something which of course have to be represented. All that representation is of course something where we gotta be on the left, right, and the spectrum, but it is of course something that can be transformed to the positive side. So that transformation can be correlated, of course, to the dynamics. So that dynamic is that there's progress can be made. I certainly made lots of progress for Aspies to be able to build bridges, small, medium, large, extra large, with you, the 99% of neurotypicals. Because I have a will, I don't have antagonistic, resentful feelings, and most of you neurotypicals that I discuss with when I mention Asperger's or high-functioning autism, which is the same, most of you never have even heard about it. Most of you never have even heard about it. Most of you have never even have ever heard about it, right? Most of you have never even heard about Asperger's, high-functioning autism. The vast majority, 2 to 3, well, okay, about 7 or 8 out of 10, so about 75%, 3/4 of you neurotypicals, generally you're unaware about or have not even heard about it and don't know what it is. So I have to discuss. The vast majority of you neurotypicals don't know what Asperger's is or have not even heard about Asperger's. And me, it took me years and years and years to accept it. Now a lot of my past makes sense. Past 11, 12 years, I used to live in a moldy place, so I don't have nostalgia at all. I lived in a moldy place. I did not even have a bathtub. Where I lived. Losing friends, losing jobs, losing friends, losing jobs, losing friends, losing jobs has been a constant in the past more than 11 years now, and I'm grateful where I live now, and if I make $1 million or $1 billion, I'm gonna give 50% half to my anonymous friend, She helped me a lot, even COVID. I survived COVID, 2020, February. Not COVID in February. I had COVID. 2020, 6 years ago, more than 6 years. Well, this feels more like 4. Yep, I had COVID and I was hard hit by COVID. COVID hit me hard. Last week of February, first week of March, I was really sick. I was coughing and dying and have, of course, on the left to go and on the right. So that's how I got, of course, made to be interacting with that. So that's what it is. So there we go, and got a left and the right. And here we got to turn our heads only that way. In theory, they can only come that way. But it's possible that they also come from the other side. So you have to be aware of that. So that awareness is always integral to the propositions, of course, of existence. So it's something which can be managed by us and with the help of others. I don't need much support, or I am special needs in certain cases. Not overall, right? Beautiful flowers there. Not overall. So in certain cases, yes. Not overall, right? Not overall. But I will always be an ass because it's not a disease. It's not an illness. It's not a mental illness. It is a disability and a disorder in certain areas. But again, it's counsel superseded by those special skills, right? Which usually are above average mathematical skills, linguistic skills. It can be, however, not all Aspies are good at computer science. Yes, there's a per capita disproportionate amount in percentages of Aspies, people on the spectrum of autism, spectronites as we are, or Aspies as we are, that are good at computer science when we compare 1,000 per 1,000 population. But again, of the overall world population, but for Canada and the US, because I'm a North American, right? I haven't even left the island of Montreal in 7 years. This month is, so I'm not, I've been on the island, a big island, 2.5 million people. It's like a small country with that population, 2.5 million people on the island. But of course, I am different, and Aspies were different, just, but I'm definitely above average in math, and I always do mathematics that I discussed in my videos. For example, the mathematics behind that, for example, that motorcycle that passed. The motorcycle has a consumption rate. There's beautiful yellow flowers there, so gorgeous. Gorgeous, eh? And these ones as well. So, for example, I will look at that motorcycle and I will try to do mathematical estimations, but these estimations are based on mathematical principles and realities, because if it runs on gas or a type of special petrol, but it seems like it's running on gas, it is consuming gas. So, for example, I would always see a car in motion and I will always know that it's a plus to it, and that plus, that mathematical addition, is the distance it travels, right? Because now it stopped, it's not traveling, and those cars are the traffic lights. But once they're in motion again, there's always plus 5 meters, plus 50 meters, plus 50 yards. So it's always adding to its mileage. And that is the plus relationship, and with the mathematical relationship is the plus as it moves. See, for example, these cars are starting to move now. It's adding to their mileage, plus XYZ yards, plus 5 yards, plus 5 meters, plus 10 meters, plus 20, and it's always increasing, plus, a meter, 2 meters, 3 meters. What is the minus? The minus, the minus is, the minus is the gas consumption. The gas consumption from its tank, or if it's electric, from its battery. Right? You see it now? How I see it? How I see the math everywhere in this particular case. That's just a relationship. So, as you can see it, or as I explain it, for example, in this way, that's just the reality of this particular interaction, this point event on this 9th of June, and this when I'm doing this video, with that segment of the interaction with civilization. And that's how I see it also in mathematical terms. And watch the branches, sometimes branches fall. So of course I might see the distance, but I don't know its total final distance. I don't know when it's gonna stop for a day, but I do know that it's there. So for example, now I'm going to leave a little bit of the water to clear, because there's dust and microbes and germs, and I'm going to thank those who built the dams, because they were built with brains and muscle, and there's not only the hydroelectric dams, but the underground channels and the underground aqueducts for me to drink water here, and not just me, but all of us, all the people who stop here. And I'm going to hydrate HYDRAT because it's hot, above average temperatures, very much above. I'm going to have to hydrate more today. When I left, it was 29, so 29 degrees, It's way above average. Feels more like a summer day. Feels more like a summer day today than a regular day. It's really hot, HOT. It's really hot. Really hot. It's actually like summer,
Say hi.
It feels like a summer day today, to be honest. It feels more like it's a summer, like July, like mid-July, you know? So thank you to those who build that. That's where I see lots of math always. So I was there doing the hydration protocols. I was drinking water, right? I drank an amount of water. I drink an amount of water where we are, of course, to drink in the relationships where we got now to correlate our relationship where we are, but it is always the dynamics which we counteract for the left and for the right and in the middle, and of course in the relationship, of course, of where we correlate. So the aspect that there's underground unseen territories, there's water, ducts, aqueducts underground, right? There's water and ducts underground, which we are not always seeing, right? We might not always see it, but they're there, right? They're there on the ground, and I'm gonna have to do some math in regards to that reality, but that is, of course, also a reality which, I'm gonna go. Oh, hey, buddy, I'm gonna have to go pee there because I don't know if it's open. I think they closed at 6, and if I try to make it and they're closed doors, I'm gonna heal over me. So this is gonna be the place for me for relief, for my relief. So, yep, perfect corner. Sorry, my fellow citizens, but in a way I really had to. It's understandably. Otherwise I would have not been able to hold it, and it would have been a mess. No drops. But yeah, there's always mathematics, right? So mathematics, calculations, estimations based on mathematical precision, because they're precise, really. These are the types of mathematics that I discussed. They're really precise in real time, right? They're real time. Oh no, pardon? Oh, I'm going to the mountain.
What are you doing in my driveway?
I came by that way.
Yeah, it's private. It's not the alleyway.
Sorry, can I come closer?
This is a private driveway. This is not the alley.
Oh, excusez-moi, je savais pas.
Yeah, next time.
J'étais rentré par l'autre bord puis j'avais besoin de faire pipi. Je t'allais faire dans le coin là-bas, là. Pas sur votre chemin. C'était, it was on the other side. I had to go pee.
Okay, well, you didn't know.
No, I did not know. No. I really didn't know, buddy, but I really had to go, so I saw it's the best way. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Have a nice evening.
You too.
Yeah. So it was on the side of the. Oh yeah, because it's open like that on the driveway. That had a nice day. I had to see Ike's. That's the problem with Asperger's. He asked what I said, and I said I had to go pee. And but then when I crossed, he said that his driveway. So I got next time I'll know. But very cordial. But I really didn't know, because it looked like it was contingency on the side. So when I came out, I should have gone the other way. He said it's okay, because I should have basically reversed and came out of there. Well, just like I went back, I would have gone back. Because once his driveway started from that segment, well, it wasn't indicated, right? It wasn't indicated. So that's the thing with Asperger's, He said, "What are you doing?" And of course, you gotta have, of course, to go to do that. I had to go to do the French and English. First, we got appel Privee, and so I gotta go pee, So, but I came out of the driveway, so I didn't know. I thought it was just a chemin, So that's what it is with that, and that's what it is with that rock and roll, man, So see how my brain works. Now I'm here and I see this segment, and what I know is, of course, that there's 95% of the cars that run on. There are 95% of the cars run on gas. Less than 5% run on electric. Less than 5% of these cars run on electric. less than 5. Of course, because there's less than 5, there's a certain number. So out of 100, it would be like around, maybe not even 5. And they're going north to south, south to north, north to south. And of course, I would see the plus. The plus is the distance. So every segment, they would add to their mileage of plus 5 meters, 10 meters until a kilometer or 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers. And they'll also spend gas. That is the minus. The minus is the gas consumption. And of course, this is a big segment. But that's just one segment, right? But this is a big highway. This is a big highway. That's a big highway. That's a very big highway, and that is just a contingency, of course, to be. So it's very hot today. Here we speak French. We love our French, but you have to learn a little bit. That's why I exchanged a little bit of the French there. But otherwise, you can manage without. But if you do come, I just advise you to make an effort, because there's always math everywhere, right? And even on the ground, there are the aqueducts for the sanitation. And I had, as an Asperger's, it can be just weird answers like that. And it's not that we mean to be offensive or rude, but sometimes I have to impose certain limits, eh? Okay, so it's open. I made it on time. I wanted to this. This I don't need this. This is electronics, but I want this to be open fast. Just gonna put the batteries. See the batteries? This is where they go. That's French. Pli et des piles. So that's the French word for batteries. And there you have the recycling and the compost and the garbage. So I also have 3 batteries. I'm just gonna put one. This actually I retrieved from the pedestrian. Well, it was kind of not really the pedestrian. It was more. This one I retrieved from the ground, from where the cars usually park close to the pedestrian. See this one? It's kind of rusty. Would have stayed there. Maybe would have even damaged a wheel. So I'm just gonna put it in there. So that's where it goes. See? They go there, and all the batteries. Those are the batteries, and that's it. Just gonna disinfect my hands, and we are ready to rock and roll. But next time I know not to go down the because it's not a public. It goes, so part of that segment is public, but there should be an indication that it's private. But now I know it should be like private driveway, because it's so it's done from the back of the alley. It goes into the driveway, but I really didn't think there was his private driveway there. But it was a cordial exchange. But now I know. Said have a nice day. Have a nice day as well. And thanks for letting me know. That's why I said, and I didn't do it on purpose. It's something that now I know. I thought it was because you have to basically go back on the island. It's kind of basically it should be like a cul-de-sac or public private property, indicating that it's private property from that point on. How I turned, but that's how we resolve our brotherly, neighborly relations. Cordially and friendly. And I don't like violence myself. I don't like violence. Actually, not at all. I do not like violence, but I'm hypervigilant. See, there's the river. I'm hypervigilant because I have these flashes, I was on the ground one point, like years and years ago. I was getting kicked by these individuals on the ground, I was getting kicked by these individuals, and I went home where I used to live. So that was where that happened when I lived in that moldy place. When I go back there, my life was a nightmare. So I don't have nostalgia at all, because my life got better and better and better over the years. But just to say, right, how I relate to also math, because now I see my fellow citizens that they come by that way. So that's why I didn't proceed in advancing, because it was safer for the family to pass. I don't know what their familial relations or not, but all of the citizens of the North American Collective, my brothers and sisters in Canada, United States, are, of course, part of my great extended family in one way, shape, or form or another, right? One way, shape, or form or another. And of course, we have to look out for each other as much as we can. Here, Quebec, kind of like I live by. It's an old school, but still good for the new schoolers. Good Samaritan, bon Samaritain, in Quebecois, is a bon Samaritain, and there's Samaritain, Samaritan, as I am androgynous, 50-50 with yours truly. Many past lives, many incarnations, man, woman, man. But yeah, I have also this flash trauma, where I survived a vicious, murderous, homicidal surprise attack years and years and years ago. I was hit hard all over the body and in the head a few times. A vicious murderous homicidal surprise attack I survived years and years ago. This was from one individual, but I was hit in the head, fell, hit my head on the concrete, and was all blooded up. Had a severely dislocated right shoulder. I had to go to the Jewish General Hospital. I'm in the process of retrieving the archives. I got a new deadline, July 1st / parallel 9/11. Parallel 9/11 to clean my room off Sun Temple, begin the 40-day rite, and of course the 40-day rite in the contingency and the relations to also propose a third time, because I got 2 no's. Maybe the third one I'm gonna get a yes as I march to my second home, the mountain and back. We're gonna go to the top and back and click it in and click it out, and of course integrate and have the administrative affairs to implement my public-private partnership, right? My PPP, public-private partnership, which is basically part of my dream, right? But yeah, that vicious, murderous, homicidal surprise attack would have been an expulsion from any sports league, eh? Would have been an expulsion from any sports leagues. Would have been an expulsion from any sports leagues. And that would have been an expulsion from any sports league. I'm gonna go buy my chocolate. Oops. Oh yeah, got the chocolate. I almost bought 2, but they went up in price, so yeah, I'm content, happy with one, better with one, the usual one, and that's just where we are now, and we're gonna go in the sun, and that's where we're gonna have it, and that's where we're gonna rock and roll with it, and it was a nice customer service, and yeah, so I survived the vicious murder surprise attack, and if I compare the surprise attack which I survived was parallel, of course, to in a geopolitical manner, just like 9/11, October 7th, and well, kind of like September 11th, Pearl Harbor's October 7th, eh? Similar to, of course, from an individual, but in an individual case, if I can correlate it with geopolitics, which is my special interest, and we're gonna geopolitically hit it up hard in a few minutes, because that's my special interest, to the point that I predicted what's happening now, eh? I predicted that there's gonna be an international conflagration, and so actually what we're gonna do today, instead of going to the traditional high peak of the mountain, we're gonna go to the other top, and we're gonna pass by my old neighborhood without going in it, because there's nothing that I want to go by. It's just that usually we turn here and we go that way. I'm just gonna go in the sun. Just gonna continue marching in the sun and salute the bus drivers. I hope my uncle's okay to cross on time. I worked with the elderly and I calculate the distance, because I just want to make sure that my uncle, call you uncles and aunties and grannies, I'm just going to make sure that he crosses the street safely, because I see blurred there. It has 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. The bus, okay, once he's safe, that's because of the mobility, reduced mobility for my senior citizens. So I calculated mathematically, seeing this. Okay, safe on the pedestrian, up and go, rock and roll. Because in this case, I calculated the segment, right? The fact that it was going slower, reduced mobility, and this I calculated and knowing that it was going to be at risk if due to crossing on the red at one point. So I just wanted to make sure that it was safe, and just like there's a knife there, this has to be put in the garbage because it can. No, it's not a real knife, but it's one that has to be put in the garbage anyways because it kind of really not damage the wheel, but it's better if it's put in the trash, where it belongs. It's a plastic one. So yeah, my vicious surprise attack that I survived was, of course, super damaging, but I survived it, and I'm gonna update the coming days, weeks, months ahead. When did I go to the Jewish General Hospital all bloodied up, and the doctors performed the procedure. The procedure was to crack back my severely dislocated right shoulder. So I had a severely dislocated right shoulder. I went to the Jewish General Hospital, and the doctors performed a procedure. And I was given a cast, a removable cast, and given some prescription medication and prescription meds. And I'm curious, what were the medication? What was the meds for? What was their purpose? Were the medicaments to repair my tissue? Hey, look at the twins. Hey, twins. Twins. Yeah, really. Really, those are twins. And so, was it to repair my tissue? Was it to repair my scar tissue? Was it to repair, the damage? Or was it to repair, of course, the proteins or, the muscle tissue? Or was it just for pain? And this is a big one. I wonder how much does this, is it a big gas guzzler? I wonder how much it expends in gas. Because that looks like it's double the rest of them. Because usually the bigger the car is, the more gas it consumes, usually, not always, for example, but generally it could be twice as much as that one. This one could be also way more than that one, right? So as I said, it's of course math everywhere. It is the relationship where we have with engaging with the environment. Or of course, engaging with the environment is of course something which we have to, of course, always implement, or there's always an implementation in my brain. But nonetheless, I'm gonna go back to saying that of course I'm gonna actually do the updating, because I wanna update when did I go, when was it that I went to the emergency room, emergency office. And of course that is just a relationship, of course, of being. And of course all that dynamic is a representational aspect of this faculty or this point of event in my life where I had to go to the ER all bloodied up, and just I'm really curious about what was the meds, Were they opioids? They might have been opioids for pain. And what are their after effects of that medication that was prescribed? Because if I was not careful, and I don't know, I don't do drugs, I rarely drink, but I don't know, because I have a good memory of the past 11, 12 years. Just when I go back before, so basically, I have a good memory of the past 11 years, 12 years. Before February 2014, before October, November 2013, it goes like on a blackout, Kind of becomes blurry, foggy, and it's like flashes and there's blackouts. My memory, I used to live over there. We're approaching my own neighborhood, and nothing that I will to go back to, I always live carpe diem it every day since I died of COVID. And I always have my routines with marching, and marching in the go, and always exercising. I've been on a fitness journey for more than, a few years now. Since I died of COVID, It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I died of COVID, right? Well, died of COVID in a way, of course, that we are not to be correlation. So that correlationship is, of course, something where we have to correlate ourselves, and that is just a manifestation, of course, of the plurality of existence and that aspect of the relationship of where we exist now with this neurodivergence, and more aware of it and more integrated with it and more apt and capable of building bridges, while in the past I wasn't, and in the past I was not, but now I'm more capable. I'm pretty joyous, Aspie, and pretty joyous. It's just that when I go back to my past, I was depressed, suicidal. 2017 is when I crossed Canada coast to coast and survived it. Just a group of people that attacked me on the. It's like in I was downtown, like it was dawn and like sun rising, and I was getting kicked by this group of individuals. But those are two separate incidents. When I got hit hard in the head when I was standing up, and I fell, but I got back up. But that incident when I was on the ground completely and I was getting kicked, those are two separate incidents. And I don't know how I ended up on the ground, and if I was prescribed those meds, and if I was also doing drugs back then, maybe I was a junkie 13, 14 years ago, 15, 16, 17, I don't know. I don't do drugs, and I actually, here in Canada, it's legal cannabis, and I have from more than 3 years ago. I still have a joint that I rolled 3 years ago, I think. I'm not sure even if it's good. I still have a joint that I rolled. Okay, it's gonna be 3 years, I think. Summer, yeah, July. I rolled it in late June or early July. Late June, July 2023. I don't know if after 3 years is good. I have it in one of those capsules there, but because it's legal, like cannabis, so I haven't smoked it. But I wonder sometimes if I was an alcoholic, if I was doing drugs. I have some, of course, some journals that I kept. Some of them got damaged in the store, but of course that's the correlation. But of course that's just the relationship that we have now, and that's how we have, of course, to be, and that's just what we are to do, and so that's what we have to correlate ourselves. And just pretty happy now, pretty joyous. It's just that I'm financially stressed, and my financial stress is not just mine, right? It's many, not all, but many. So here's my old neighborhood beginning when you cross on the other side. So nothing that I will to go back to, and this is gonna turn right. But of course, that is where my old neighborhood begins. My old neighborhood begins. That's the Cuban consulate. Here's where my old neighborhood begins, right here. Sorry guys. Thank you. Of course. And this we gotta have to be, of course, wow, what a mess. Be careful for the children there. Be careful for the children. So now that's where my old neighborhood begins. Kinda there. That's where my old neighborhood begins. Over there. So if I would have crossed there, I would have been in my own neighborhood, but there's nothing that I want to go back to. It's just living for today, carpe diem it. Every day since I died of COVID, And my old neighborhood is on the other side. I used to live over there. Moldy place, underground basement. I didn't even have a bathtub. I had no bathtub. No bathtub at all. Small underground place. It was like a prison cell. Tiny prison cell, I guess I served my time. I always say, serve my time to do some good deeds along the way. Especially the 2016 intervention, which I'm going to mention now. And yeah, I will keep updating when did I go to the ER emergency room to the doctors. I know who you were, but thank you, because performed that procedure. And in 20, I do little interventions along the way. Smaller ones for the environment or for nature, and of course for other things, and that's just what we have to do. Of course, that's just the faculty of my life events, my life, and being joyous, happy, content, grateful now, grateful for the day, carpe diem every day, and grateful to the doctors, the Jewish General Hospital. And I'm really curious what were the opiates, and if I was doing alcohol and drinking and I was taking the meds, can it affect my memory, right? Because I have a good memory. It's just before October 2013 it goes on the blackout. Right? So I see a red helicopter chopper, red, going south. So now in the relationship with me, my dynamism and my evolution, my changing, my transformation, because no thank you to the past, but I learned the hard way with autism, Asperger's, losing friends, losing jobs, and I have a lot of things to be grateful for. And when I look back, living in a moldy place, and of course, there was, of course, underground basement. Of course, I guess I served my time, and having served my time in that prison type of cell, wasn't an official prison cell, but the mold there, the tiny basement, did not even have a proper kitchen. The kitchen was actually in my room because I had the stovetop in my room. So I moved there. So it's gonna be 11 years, July 1st, 11 years, 2015. It's gonna be 11. Wow, 11 years. Yep. Rock and rolling. I wrote hundreds of rock songs, French and English, did lots of art, and been YouTubing for several years. many years. I've been depressed, been suicidal since about end of 2014, severe depression. Not just me as an individual Aspie, but you have to understand, but for Aspies, there's a disproportionate amount of high depression mortality rates, high dropout rates. I did graduate high school. I dropped out of college. Losing friends, losing jobs. Our Aspies, our unemployment rate for people on the spectrum is more than 80%. There has been some improvement. Used to be about 90. So in the past 25 years, there has been some movement. Every little progress is good with fellow spectronites, fellow autistics, but at different levels, Aspies or other people on the autism spectrum. There has been some change on the positive side of employment, but it's still very high. Huh? It's like a horror movie. The statistics, it's a horror movie. Listen, 80% of Aspies on the spectrum are unemployed or underemployed. Think about that, compared to about 7%. So it's 11 times higher. 11 times. Just like the depression and suicidal rates, I was there, right? It was during the end of 2014 until summer 2017. That's an event which I discussed with Joy because that changed my life. I crossed with my anonymous friend. We went in August 2017, we went to Vancouver. We took the bus, 3.5 day bus ride, 3.5 days. From Montreal to Vancouver, we switched buses along the way, and then we came back in September 2017. We went to Nova Scotia, Halifax, Nova Scotia. We went to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and of course, 2017 crossed it coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. So basically, we crossed the right traverse Canada, and that event made me realize I had an awakening. It's such a great country. So I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians and brothers and sisters in the 50 states, because, you know me, I believe in reincarnations. I was born in a past life, previous incarnations, many past lives, many incarnations, all the way, of course, ancient Egypt as a priestess, priestess of the goddess, was the priestess Pitya to the great Ratria to Lycurgus. The great Ratria to Lycurgus is in the United States, was born 3 times post 1776, once as a woman, twice as a man, and served in the same United States Armed Forces, 2 different wars. The wars were 156 years apart, and in 2016 I did that. One of my grand special security interventions, actually basically anti-terror work, I discovered here in Montreal, in a freely distributed newspaper, which was called something like the Waja Voice of the People, Islamic State propaganda. I couldn't believe it. I get goosebumps when I discuss it now. So my work, without a doubt, saved perhaps hundreds of my fellow Canadians and brothers and sisters in the 50 states. I prevented a terror attack. I prevented a mass casualty attack by the Islamic State supporters, terrorists, the so-called caliphate, which was established on the 29th of June 2014. So I do a little security interventions along the way, but that was the main one. That was a major one. I even, without hesitating, I took those several copies of that newspaper with that article, which should have never been published, and clearly was a failure of intelligence communities. CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and RCMP. CSIS was founded on the 21st of June, 1984, so it's gonna have some anniversary. But yeah, I went to the RCMP in Montreal and I did a declaration, and afterwards I haven't seen it being published. The newspaper should have never been published, the article, but maybe it escaped the editor, right? Maybe it escaped our security services, right? But at the midst of the height of their power, their brutality, it was unrivaled. Their merciless brutality, of the Islamic State still strikes terror, because now there's a revival of them. And it's important to note that I did that intervention and I saved lives, eh? I even wrote CSIS. I have the letter from 2016, spring. It was around March. From a library in Côte des Neiges, in my own neighborhood. I couldn't believe it when I was reading it. It was calling on people to pledge allegiance to the Islamic State and to attack us. So I prevented a Bataclan November type of style attack in 2016. It was just a few months after that Bataclan attack. Just a few months. So, because geopolitics has been my special interest, that of course, when you hear the sirens, turn your head left or right, whether the firefighter sirens, the ambulance sirens, or any sirens. We love our ambulance drivers. Slow down, drive safe, make sure everybody's safe around you. The Imperial Full Circle Citizen Security Protocol, 180 degrees to the left, 180 degrees to the right. The Full Circle Imperial Security Protocol. When you hear the ambulance or the firefighters or the police, and whenever I cross by this magnificent, beautiful building, I will to say that it reminds me that I will to build, together with your help, on the Canadian-US border, the Great Lakes, to symbolize our fusion, because we're going to fuse the RCMP and the FBI into the CPS, IPS, and CSIS and CIA into the Imperial Security Integrated Service. But of course, such a beauty like this one, construction workers, Rock&Roll, but to build the Imperial People's Coliseum. We want to build let's build together the biggest ever sports arena complex Coliseum ever built on the Canadian-US border, to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, where several Super Bowls were fought, played, battled out. One of my favorites is Super Bowl 47, so let's build it 11 times bigger than that arena, which changed names several times. It's like I changed names, right? Changed names several times, and it's like I changed names. Gonna go to see the other side of the mountain here. I gotta be careful now. I can cross, so I wanna cross safely into the sun. So I wanna change the route, because usually we go that way. We go straight that way. Basically, we go to we're going east. Now we're going to go north a bit, and then we're going to turn east again, because we have our ritual routines, but we're going to change a bit and change the environment a bit, or the filming, the video. And I don't mind change that much. I have my ritual routines, many Aspies do, but especially financial change, or buying my anonymous friend a house, or boxing Donald Trump, because since 2018 I've been challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match. That one's for sale. That one says I found 660-514-660-3050, 514-660-3050. I would buy my anonymous friend a house if I could tomorrow. Buy us a house or anywhere. And she gifted me those great red gloves, eh? I wish to box Donald Trump's granddaddy Trump in a sportsman-like type of boxing match, and we're gonna box when we're gonna inaugurate the biggest ever Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, which we're gonna build 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, which before was known as the Mercedes-Benz. And before the Mercedes-Benz, the Super Bowl was known as, first it was known as the Louisiana Superdome. Then it changed names. So several Super Bowls were played, battled out, fought over there. Several Super Bowls. One of my favorite ones, Super Bowl 47. Although it's one of my top 3 Super Bowls, the 49ers lost. By 3 points, but they lost. Ray Lewis got the MVP, but let's build this great grand Coliseum. NFL, NHL, and NBA, MLB, please give some charity. Support the DJ, reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9%, and now's the playoffs. Gonna rock and roll for Team Canada in the sports. Soccer, eh? Soccer. Hey, Twin Lions. The Twin Lions. And so, of course, that is one of my favorite Super Bowls. And, of course, the paradox that it was lost. They lost by 3 points. But it's, of course, something where I have to say that it's really a good one. You have to watch it for yourself, and I watch it. So I watch it very often. It's one of those Super Bowls where I watch it a few times a year, actually. Yeah, you might check back 7 years ago. You might see a video of me watching that Super Bowl while working out and commenting, and they say, "Hey, you watch that same Super Bowl over and over and over again." So yeah, it's autistic trait. So I wonder what are they building here. Well, they have to repair the aqueducts, eh? Maybe the aqueducts, So aqueducts are possibly whatever it is now together in the complementarity where we got to be meditating that at the same time as saluting the work, because, public works is important. And there's a water main, eh? There was a water main. I have to go by the side here. It was a 1984 water main that broke, eh? 1984. Water main that broke. Oh, there's no parking. No, of course not. 1984 water main that broke in Atwater. So, go construction workers, go, eh? Well, with jobs. It's good to have a job, Wonder what exactly, but some of them are very rusty, eh? Some are like 40, 50 years old. They're aged. The infrastructure is aged, eh? Underneath. Well, this water main was from 1984. So it burst, and they're asking us to reduce the consumption. So they're asking the city here in Montreal, Island of the Hawk, to basically, when we brush our teeth, not to use that much water, which I'm doing. Shower, I reduced it, and I did reduce. I'm estimating that I was able to reduce by about a fourth, about 25%, my water consumption since it was announced in the news 2 weeks ago. So I'm doing my part consciously, and of course with my Aspie brain mathematically, because it's math, right? It's volume of water, it's milliliters and liters, right? And so, salute to the public workers. It's good to have a job. My dream is a fundamental public-private partnership, and it's good to work. I love working, I had many jobs. It's just this is not just me as an individual. This is my Aspie community, 80% unemployment, getting jobs, losing jobs, and losing friends. That's why I don't want to waste anybody's time. Eh? If you're 18 plus, we can play friends with services. Otherwise, I don't need much for friends with services. And yeah, we rock and roll, and wish I could buy my nan's in the house. So back to the buildings, which I will to build together with the construction workers who rock and roll those cranes. The forgotten goddess temple. She doesn't need me, piece of dust. Limdig the clit. You don't have a dragon to build the goddess of the temple, because she's got the pyramids. She dances with her brother, the sun, who now rises and now sets. But nonetheless, here in North America, we've built it 11 times bigger than it will be 11 times bigger than 11 times bigger. We have a structure here which is quite majestic and grand. But of course, it's called St. Joseph's Oratory. St. Joseph's Oratory, which I will to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, and to be 11 times bigger than the St. Joseph's Oratory, the Forgotten Goddess Temple. St. Joseph's Oratory is a big structure here. If you haven't ever visited Montreal, it's something that you gotta see. It's a landmark. It's big. There's somewhere around there you can go different ways, but if you never visited Montreal, you can go to see it. You can see sunset is great. So it's a landmark. It's huge. It's a huge building. It's 100 years old. It's very structured, and it has big steps. And That's I recommend. You have so many things to see on the island. So you see the river over there, the island of the Hawk, Hawk, because it's an island, right? You might not be conscious of it, but it's an island surrounded by a river. It's an island surrounded by a river, so that's what we have. That's where we live. That's where we reside, on the island of Montreal. It's an island. So it's a big one, 2.5 million people. So I will also to build a House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon. Scarlet Crimson are that shade of red, right? Scarlet and Crimson are shades of red. And for years and years and years, I've been discussing the Dragon Army. That's a mass PPP based on my philosophies, theories, protocols, and initiatives, and of course all the strategies which we have. So of course all the strategies which we have are sometimes which we have to enable the relationships of where we exist now. So that existence is of course in relationship to myself in the dynamical representation and ourselves in the dynamical representation where we are. And that's just the attributions, of course, of being the left and right and in the middle. But it's a house there that makes me think of the Forgotten Goddess temple, that statue there, and that one's for sale. This is what my anonymous friend deserves, a house like this. Again, same number. Hey, you're cornering the marketplace. So that's what it is with the relationship there, with the beauty. I wish I could buy my anonymous friend a house like that. Or any house whatsoever, anywhere in Montreal. That would be good, and that would be correlated in the dynamics, of course, of the representation, and that's who we are. So all that is another aspect of the dream, building also the House of the Dragon or the Forgotten Goddess Temple. Of course, the Forgotten Goddess Temple is the contingency of we are now to be in the relationship of existence. So that existence is, of course, co-relationship, of course, of where we are to be environmentally friendly with. And, of course, that is the relationship on the left and on the right and in the middle. And, of course, all that is to say that we have the co-relationship of existence and of course of building the relationship of our common manifest destiny. And of course our common manifest destiny is an involvement, of course, of the dynamic of these representations, or all those representations which exist now. It is something which we have to correlate ourselves with all the faculties and all the dynamics where we coexist in the apparatus of our contingency. But of course to build the Rainbow People's Palace, and of course all that Rainbow People's Palace is, of course, to be correlated in with the sunshine. And of course, building integrally, of course, the stratus and the stratus, of course, of the representational aspects is where we are, where we have a volition, to build this for. So one is the Imperial People's Coliseum, and of course, that Imperial People's Coliseum is to be representing the fusion of the 10, the 50, and the 3, the 63 into the Imperial Republic as aligned in parallel with my Holy Trinity of theories. And that Holy Trinity of theories is, of course, always magistrate to my prediction of 2019, and that was when I predicted that there will be an international conflagration, World War III, an international conflagration, a World War III type of scenario. And of course that World War III type of scenario is in the relationship of being and the administrative faculty of the dynamics of where we have arrived now. As Uncle Connie, the king is absent, so as we are in the absence of the king. And I always say we should have been a republic on the 1st of January 2000 to the year 2000. That's Uncle Connie, just like his predecessors, pledged allegiance to the King of England and his heirs. Think about that. Not to the Constitution and the citizens and the people of Canada, but to the King of England and his heirs. Think about that. hereditary king of England and his heirs. Right? Think about that. Just meditate on that for a few seconds. Not to the people, citizens of Canada, but to the King of England and his heirs. So, of course, if you are to the dynamical representations thereof, of course, a being, and of course, that relationship is, of course, always contingent upon the realities and just the realities of having the representation where we got to correlate ourselves, and we have, of course, to express our redress in this matter, of course, of where we got here now. Forget the king. The king is absent, right? We have our common manifest destiny. We're a North American collective, or a North American civilizational complex. Now, and I could share 50-50 with my anonymous friend. Now, and I could share 50-50 with my anonymous friend. Now, and the house. This one will be perfect, 50-50. Will be big enough for me. I need 3 rooms. One for geopolitics, one for rock-and-roll, and one for gymnasium to work out and dance, because dancing is my favorite sport, and I guess I could sleep in any of them. So sleeping in any of them is going to be, of course, correlation where we have the correlation of now to be related with all the strategies which are to be implemented. Beautiful red. So, of course, in the absence of the king, because the king is absent, as I always say, it's time for the Republic. And here I'm going to cross the street brutally, because where we're going is, of course, atop the city. Beautiful yellow flowers there in the corner, and here we have to step it up. Sometimes we are on that side and we point the camera here, because this is the mountain, Three-Peak Mountain, right between the east and the west. This mountain is right between the east and the west. Hey, same number, 514-660-3050. This one will be good also for sale for my anonymous friend and me to split. See, there's the river. That's the river. We're overlooking south now. I see that 3 times that same number. Hey, cornering the market. Don't be so selfish, give some charity. Anyways, but yeah, if I would have money, pay my $10,000 debt, and I'm rich in marching steps, rock and roll, and geopolitics. And of course, all that is the loving day today, because I carpe diem it every day since 2020. Thank you, my anonymous friend, again for the compressors, for helping me with the COVID. Last week of February, first week of March, I thought I was going to die. I was so sick. I got triple vaxxed, 3 vaccines, and I keep, to the best of my ability, the protocols. And now I'm concerned about the Ebola. Is it spreading? Is it mutating? And is it airborne? If it's airborne, that could become a problem fast. From 1 week to the next, we could have lockdowns. And again, same. What's going on here? Cornering the market. Yeah. Keep your houses. We're gonna build ours. Hey, dragons. There it is. South, the river. The river. And of course, as we are here today, it's there you can see, that's where we go sometimes over there. There's a river. That's miles and kilometers away. And that's here we're atop the mountain. The mountain is called, well, it has 3 peaks. So it's Westmount. I gotta watch it because there's a car coming. As Westmount and Mount Royal, and of course there's the other peak, Westmount, Mount Royal, and Outramount. So these 3 peaks intersect. See how I calculated mathematically that, of course, it's safer for me to traverse in the other side. And of course, the traversation, of course, is the mathematical correlation with the car's velocity and the speed. That's why I took 2.5 steps to the side without interjecting on the private property on the sidewalk, because I calculated that the dog needs a little space. And I guess that's the advantage of having autism and, of course, being on the spectrum of autism, or of course Asperger's, because it can be valuable in certain ways. So now, back to the Forgotten Goddess Temple. Back to the beautiful yellow flowers. Beautiful yellow flowers. Back to the forgotten goddess temple. So, of course, back to the forgotten goddess temple. It is, of course, always in the contingencies and the relationship, of course, of where we are now. But that is my will and my volition, of course, to do. My volition, of course, to do is, of course, the relationship of having been, of course, in the faculty. So, is, of course, the facultative, of course, to be on the left and on the right and in the middle. And, of course, interjectionally, that relationship is always protruding to building these for the Imperial People's Colosseum for Sportus in Perpetuities, and that is best built, of course, the Great Lakes, right? The Great Lakes are between of course, United States and Michigan, right? The state of Michigan, and of course, being in the relationship that we are now is something which we have, of course, the relationship of this dynamic. So now we are in Westmount. It's a mountain elevation, and you can see part of the bridges there. So, of course, for the total SSSD, Security, Service, and Defense, we would have, of course, to get the protocols for the 50 states contingency, and, of course, for those who build the bridges, I don't know whoever built the bridges, but of course whoever built the bridges in the relationships of having existed. So that representation, if you ever built a bridge in North America, you rock and roll. Whoever built these bridges, you rock. Rock more than a rock star. Whoever built the dams, the electricity grids, power grids here, have the power, right? There's 63. All this electricity here comes from clean, zero pollution energy. It's from Hydro-Quebec. 63 power dams go all the way to 3 states, all the way to Manhattan Island. All the electricity used by millions of people is from water. Doesn't pollute. So thank you, thank you, workers. Civilization is a privilege, Think about that. You don't think about it every day, but that's just the reality of how it is with the works, Mom
said she has to go
with the works. Of course. That 63 generating power dams, that's quite amazing, right? Think about that. That is really an achievement which we have to make it a salute, because we need to build more on a daily basis. So on the daily basis, that is just the reality, of course, of having a being. And of course, that is the relationship of existing. So that is the relationship where we exist now in the contingents of this Quebec, of this Montreal, where, of course, the electricity goes all the way to several states in the United States. So as I reach that peak there, and I'm continuing now the march, it is important to salute 50 states and 10 provinces and 13, just like the original 13 Granddaddy Trump, best my way to fuse Canada and the United States. Best, of course, via the implementation of my Trinity of theories. And of course, that is just the reality of where we exist now together in the domain. So, of course, that relationship and that aspect is that we must secure it, because it's open for sabotage, espionage now more than ever, because of the DMA as well. So now I'm going to enter into geopolitics. The DMA is, of course, the direct military assistance and action. Just, of course, as my prediction from 2019, is happening. So I have to interject or make a mention that it's every work since then. It is, of course, the geopolitical reality as it has been contingent and parallel to my prediction from October 2019. From 2019, right? From 2019. And so all that point in time from then till now has been that it's going, whoa, look at those beauties. So much life, full of life there. And those also, it's a great garden. Top. And my prediction was, if I can do a great summary because there's a lot of academic intellectual, some of my philosophies, such as the SSSD, the CIT, so those are basically theory. CIT is a theory, not necessarily a philosophy or MO. The DRT is also part of a strategy, but is a theory which needs to be implemented, but the other ones some of them are more intellectual, academic in nature, require more intellect, right? Some of them are more straightforward, practical than others. However, in 2019, I have predicted that there will be an international conflagration in October 2019. I predicted that there will be an international conflagration. And so that international conflagration is happening as I predicted it, in a general manner, in a general manner. Not in an overall detail by detail manner, but in a general manner. One of the main motives, reasons why I predicted there's going to be an international conflagration is and was that there will be these conflicts from the 20th century, which of course from the 20th century they will reemerge. So their reemergence has occurred. In parallel to what I predicted back in 2019. So they basically fundamentally reemerged, these conflicts from the 20th century, from the Cold War period, right? That's what basically is happening. Israel, Hamas was founded in the 80s. Israel, Lebanon, Hezbollah. Iran was founded on the 11th of February 1979. 11th of February 1979, Iran. 11th of February 1979. That was the foundation of the Islamic Republic. 11th of February 1979. Think about that. Right? China, Taiwan is another unresolved conflict from the Cold War period from the 20th century. Integrally. Right? It's an unresolved conflict. Beautiful white flowers here. So gorgeous. So, although my work predates and my theories and such theoretical papers such as the need for mass financing, fitness, and tourism together predate and are still more valuable than before because there's an increase in mental health and problems and wellness and stress, poverty for many. So that's why my DRT theory has to be implemented and implementing a mass PPP, public-private partnership across the North American Collective, which fundamentally my theories protocols will require all institutions and organizations, right? Because the king is absent. I mean, with all respect to Madame Governor General, we don't need. Maybe another role, because I don't want to take money from anybody to lose their jobs, because financial economic pressure can exert a lot of stress. Myself, I know, and more than the vast majority, losing jobs, losing friends. I survived past 11 years on less than 200,000. Which was supposedly the cost for catering and meals and eating for 3 trips of carnices in the past year. I would like to look at more details on that. I know there were some publications, but it's something that I'm really curious to know. How come it was so costly? I mean, I do like eating well, but it just seems that there's the math to me just. I would like to see the numbers because Canada, we're not doing so well. United States either, generally overall, and there's increasing food security problems. And look at the food banks. Food banks have more than doubled the usage since 20. Think about that. Since 2019, in 7 years. In 7 years, food bank usage in Canada has more than doubled. And every week, every month, I see something related to our food bank stress. Either they have to turn people away because there's more people, or they have to reduce the portions because sometimes they are not getting what they used to get as in the past years. So there's a reduction. While we have great food security concerns. And I warned about this also 3 years ago, and I warned just like that our interest payments and our debt servicing will so increase burdensome that we're going to have to cut into public service, even a personal public service cut on. For me, for Aspie's people on the spectrum, has been cut. 2 years ago, I applied for a service because I don't need much support. I have my routines, I have my joy, I have my financial stress, but hey, Mother Nature, so beautiful, look at you. Hey, not a care in the world. I got no care in the world. I'm a butterfly in nature, I got light and sunlight. I don't care about your science and your math and your satellites in the sky. I got everything I need, I'm so white and green, and it kind of has some black and red, kind of, hey? It's kind of, wow. Kind of reddish on there's a bit of a reddish tinge, but black, hey? Oh, beauty of nature. I love nature, please don't pollute. That's why we need the DJs to clean, and make sure that things are being placed properly into recycling and their garbage in their garbage, and the recycling in their recycling. And so, yeah, we have to do it. We have to do it ourselves also as individuals. It requires it requires the individual and the collective, right? It's not just me and you and the corporations. It's us and the corporations. It's me, you, us, and the corporations and the institutions that have to do it properly. And we have to improve. And I certainly improve, but I have some experience because I worked a few months on the compost project, 2018, 2019. But yeah, I'm looking at the numbers, and the food bank's increasing, and the debt is increasing, the debt servicing. I warned 3 years ago, while the PBO, Parliamentary Budget Officer, just warned about 3.5 months ago that we're going to have to cut even atop the mountain there. I was doing my video with that laptop, and I was asking Cousin Trudeau, what are we going to cut? And even Carney had to cut thousands of jobs, even in Immigration Canada, public service. Even my service for Aspies, there was a service provided, and our healthcare is not going so well. And now they had to reduce it. They said, we cut the budget, we cut the service. It's not provided for free anymore. Have to go to the private, and I did some initial information request, and in order to start a file, it's $1,200. So that $1,200 at the moment, if this financial variable changes for me, and I hope it does, and of course, I'm willing to work, and I'm worth it. Every song is worth a few million, in a way, a million. But blah, 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 for now, $1,200 is paying my rent for 2 months and buying wafers and cheese and milk and bread and butter, right? And bread and butter issues for me, the $1,200. Because the rest is going to be capitulated for the rent. So that's how I would strategize it. So, in other words, just to get it going, it's $1,200 to start the file. For consultations and for initial, for support thereafter, it might be even increasing. So it's not for like 6 months, 3 months, a year of service. That's just to open like the file. Imagine, that's expensive, eh? Expensive for some, not for all. Some people can afford it. It's just burdensome. It's tough for many. It's tough for many. Many. That's why more than 2/3 of Canadians, those boomers, generation boomers, those born between 1947 and 1996, millennials, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z also. It's financial stress, eh? It's tough economic times. Tough financial times, eh? It's tough nowadays. Really tough. But friends with services for me, if you're 18 plus, that would alleviate, Could schedule in, you service me, I service you, otherwise I don't need, Can integrate always in my schedule, some work, and created a great workout training program system, which I've advocated in. I created it back in 2019 to go hand in hand with what's been happening. The General War Integrated Whole Body Training System. The General War Integrated Whole Body Training System is a workout training program system which I created and I developed to be efficient, effective, and simple, to require no equipment, and to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario. And of course, all that relationship is, of course, to be that the realities of my workout can be efficiently. For years, I've been advocating for the armed forces, firefighters, and police services, RCMP, FBI, always across NATO, because most of my theories are NATO-centric, NORAD NATO-centric, as much as I'm a world peace advocate, as a world citizen. I have to be honest. I haven't even left the island of Montreal for 7 years, eh? The big island of Montreal, and that's what it is now. And we need to, of course, correlate in the relationships of where we are now, but that correlation is always with us and me and you. So my dream best, my theories best, the implementation of my Trinity of theories, CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, the DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, and the DFT, Democratic Fusion Theory. And I gotta retrieve my water, because otherwise I'm gonna go on that HYDRAT and COLLAPSE, but I'm not gonna do it. It's been a while. I haven't had beer, eh? Somebody donated a beer years ago. Finally, last year I had it. I had it for 2 years in the fridge. I don't drink much, but sometimes I wonder if before February 2014, before October 20, before 2013 if I was a junkie or if I was doing drugs. Maybe in combination with those prescription pills, and I guess sometimes memory comes back, but if it doesn't, I don't mind because I'm not that person anymore, you know. I died so many times in the past 11 years plus COVID and did those interventions. 2016, I saved my fellow Canadians from a mass casualty event, yeah, from Bataclan-like style terror attack. I'm gonna drink all the 710 mLs because otherwise there's a risk of heating. So if it's a risk, because it's so high, it risks the water to heat too much. So it's perfect for me to hydrate all now. All right. But if somebody offers a beer, I'll drink it, you know. Actually, my neighbor invited me for a beer for the summer, so I'm not gonna say no. I said sure. If he reminds me again, I'll say yes. If he forgot it, I won't. But whatever the case may be. So implementing my protocol is best for the North American Collective. Oh, I gotta be careful with a fellow anti-citizen on the bike. Saluting butchers, bakers, firefighters, plumbers, and electricians, train conductors, all those involved in the production distribution of food now, delivering some food. And can I interject some more mathematics? I'm gonna leave an open question, which has to do with this bus. So this is a double bus, right? This is a double bus. So this bus will consume a certain amount. Well, okay, it's not hybrid because it's not marked on it, but it will consume a certain amount of gas. So whatever the gas that it consumes is going to be in liters per 100 kilometers. So it has a consumption rate. I don't know. But this is the mathematical question. Bus A, or just a bus, I'm thinking about this one, will have a total route for the daily commute 244 kilometers. If its consumption rate is 11 liters per 100 kilometers, how many liters will it consume for the whole day? And if the price per liter that was paid is $1.83, how much did it cost for the bus to travel? And now I'm going to expand it, if they have to pay the bus driver $25.44 an hour for an 8-hour shift, and how many tickets do they have to sell in order to cover the costs and be profitable for the STM if every ticket is $3.75 Canadian? But see, there's a bit tricky. So some you might be able to answer more easily, some not, because the tickets for that specific bus, here you buy a ticket. But of course, this is for the specific bus we're saying. But a ticket you can buy and just circulate for 2 hours. You can take 3, 4, 5, 7 buses. You can jump from one bus to the next in theory for those 2 hours. But you cannot take the same bus in the same direction. I think that's the protocol policies. I got to check because there's policies. But generally, you can use it from the bus to metro, from the metro to the bus. For example, when I have a ticket and I have to go Montreal North for a meeting, then I take the bus few kilometers. I could take the metro a few kilometers, and then I take another bus. Right? I take another bus. So that is the mathematical question. So, but that can also be expanded. See how my brain works? Because that's just for one bus. But in reality, there's thousands of buses. Thousands of buses. Most buses are not electric. So if there would be an emergency of not having gas shortage, let's say next month, oh, we're running out of gas, there's no more gas at the gas stations, no more gas coming, then also the buses that run on gas will stop. So we have to only use the hybrids, right? Most cars will stop if they're not electric, if there's no gas, right? Or the trucks also. So that could cause a great logistical problem. The logistical problem was because of delivering the food, right? The foods. So that can cause a major problem. Can run out of gas next month. It's possible. State of Hormuz, Iran. Imagine, worst case scenario, running out of gas, man.